Hello, Charles Mercier here. Please let me introduce you to my new book, Peshtigo, 1871. It's a new edition with commentary of Peter Pernin's famous Peshtigo Fire memoir, The Finger of God is There. It's been published by TBR Books in New York of the Center for the Advancement of Languages, Education, and Communities. 2021 is the 150th anniversary of the Great Peshtigo Fire. Peshtigo was a logging town on Green Bay in Wisconsin that burned to the ground the night of October 8, 1871. Some 2,000 people were killed, the deadliest wildfire in American history. The Roman Catholic pastor of Peshtigo in 1871 was Father Peter Pernin, 49 years old at the time. 7 years before, in 1864, he had come from France as a missionary to serve French-speaking Catholics in Illinois and spent the rest of his life in America, in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. He and a few hundred of his fellow citizens survived the Peshtigo fire by spending the night in the Peshtigo River, splashing themselves with water. Pernin was also pastor of Marinette, the next town north, and in the fire, Pernin lost 2 churches, 2 rectories, and a school building. As a fundraiser to rebuild his facilities, he wrote in French, forgotten fact, a memoir about how he survived the fire. He published it in Montreal in both French and English translation. He was able to build a new church in Marinette that stood for 100 years before it was torn down in 1978. Pernin's unforgettable memoir has been popular, kept alive by the Wisconsin Historical Society publications in 1918, 1971, and 1999. What I've done now is to edit and republish the original French text for the first time, and to make a more accurate and complete translation into contemporary English, and to provide commentary that puts the work in historical and cultural perspective. My project began as family history. When Pernin came to the United States from France, he brought with him 2 nieces, Zoe and Marie-Berthe Pernin. Zoe moved to Chicago and married in 1869, had 4 children, the youngest of whom, also Zoe, is my grandmother. Interesting new fact, the same night Pernin survived the Peshtigo fire, his niece and her family were surviving the Great Chicago Fire. My grandmother Zoe was proud of her French heritage. She took me as a baby to wave the French flag when President Charles de Gaulle visited Washington, D.C. in April 1960. 50 and 60 years before, an orphan in her teens, she used to spend summers with her Uncle Pernin in Rochester, Minnesota, where she had this photo taken. I guess she liked her hats. Her mother had been a modiste in the heyday of French Chicago in the 1880s. From my family archive, I have material that tells Pernin's story, including a carte de visite he had made in St. Louis in 1872, a few months after surviving the fire. I traveled and did a lot of archival research, and I'm telling the story of Pernin's life for the first time. Growing up in an agricultural village in Saône-et-Loire in the 1820s, studying at a famous French collège, Meaux-Mieux, which trained him as a writer, a missionary career in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, ending his days in 1909 as the first resident chaplain of Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Pernin paid a price for publishing his fire memoir. He was disciplined and suspended from ministry by the Diocese of Green Bay because he spent too long away in Montreal arranging to publish his book. Pernin's book also stirred some controversy by supporting the claim of a Belgian woman, Adele Brice, to have had a vision of the Virgin Mary in 1859 on the Door Peninsula of Green Bay. My book is helpful to anyone wishing to study the claimed 1859 Mariophany in Wisconsin, which the Diocese of Green Bay recently, in 2010, declared worthy of belief. The book makes available Pernin's evidence and for the first time collects all known comparative material. You'll have to read the book if you want to observe the 150th anniversary of the Peshtigo fire by hearing Pernin's story more clearly than ever before, or if you're interested in American cultural and religious history. I hope you'll get a copy, and I hope you'll let me know what you think and join the discussion. Thanks for watching.